Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm doing a recommendation video. So the idea behind this series, and I'm really hoping to make this a series of videos, despite the fact that I think every other time I've said that on this channel I have not followed through and actually made it a series, but this time I'm planning on it because I have quite a few books on this list that I want to recommend. And the theme I'm going for today and throughout the series is I'm going to be recommending diverse romance reads. A lot of the times when you see recommendations on how to read more diversely, I've always seen a lot of serious, adult fiction, or even if it's younger, it's always very serious, like contemporary fiction, and I don't want to read serious books. I just don't. So I have a list of romance books that vary from contemporary to historical and just have a really great diversity component, but also are lighthearted enough that I can still enjoy them. So that is what I'm going to be recommending today. I'm going to start with 5 books in today's video, but I have quite a lot of other ones that I want to talk about in the future, so stay tuned for that. The idea behind this diverse romance reads is I didn't know exactly how to organize my list of books that I really enjoy. So my solution was not to organize them. So this is just a random list in no particular order that is compiled of books that have some sort of representation in them, whether that is a disability representation, whether the author is a person of color, whether the characters are people of color, whether it's, a LGBTQ plus representation, anything that you can think of that isn't white straight people. So that's what I'm going for with this list, and I hope you find some books that sound good. So let's just go ahead and get started. I have 5 books to get through today. Gonna keep it short and sweet. So it's not a video by me if there's not a Joanna Shoup book in it, am I right? Okay, so the first one is A Notorious Vow by Joanna Shoup. I am including this one because of the deaf representation in this book. I think it was very incredibly written. I just recently read this one and I enjoyed it so much, and I think that the research she did into not only how it is to live being deaf or hard of hearing, but also for the time period, I think she did a really, really incredible job with her research and describing that sort of life on page. I think she's just such a good writer, and I loved the character. And she mentions in the acknowledgements that she learned a lot from her husband's parents, so her in-laws, because one or both of his parents are deaf, so she was able to learn a lot from them and incorporate it into the story. And it was just so good. Not only is it an incredible romance, I think the representation in it is handled incredibly well, because it's a case where a lot of the times, especially in that time period, it would be expected for him to adapt to the world, for him to forget that he was deaf, or just make himself fit the mold of society. And she wrote it in a way that the heroine was like, no, I will change for you. I will help fit into your world. And I think it was just really, really beautifully done. And I just really loved it, and I think everybody should read it. It was a lot of fun. Next, I have a novella. I have Go Deep by Rosie Adams. I really enjoyed this story. I didn't love the writing 100% of the time, but I gave it a 4 stars. It's a really solid novella. I think the thing I liked the most is I loved the characters, and I fully believed that they were in love. And this follows a woman who writes romance novellas, actually, or romance novels, and she's really in a rut about writing. She's got writer's block. She doesn't have any inspiration, and so she asks her best friend, who she's known her entire life, to give her some inspiration for her romance novels. And it's their story of going from friends to casual lovers to being in love, and it is just the most precious thing in the world. I loved it so much. It was really, really fun, and there's a lot of really great talk about representation in this book, because they both acknowledge that they're black people, and how that changes their life, and how that changes her life as an author, and how that changes his life as a teacher, and how that changes his students' life. It's just all really, really good, and I definitely want to read more books by Rosie Adams in the future. Next is another contemporary, A Sweet Mess by J.C. Lee. I thought this book was adorable. It was such a sweet romance read, and the characters were just so cute together, and I really, really loved it. I found this book on a list of books by Asian American authors, and I, just had to pick it up because the cover really, it sold me. It's so cute. And then it was about a bakery, and I was like, you got me, I'm ready. There wasn't as much bakery content as I wanted, but it was still really, really cute, and I loved these characters and how they found their footing together, and it just was really, really good. And I think one of the strongest elements of this book was also the fact that there was a relationship between the heroine and the mother and how that healed. It was just so, so sweet to see them come back together and find that relationship again. I think that was actually my favorite part, and I really, really love this book, and I for sure want to pick up more books by her. Next, I have The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa, which I feel at this point, I think everyone's heard of this one, but when I read it, I think it had just come out, so it feels like not as many people knew about it when I read it, but that sounded so hipster. I'm sorry. I just mean I read it when it first came out. But I really loved this book. It was so much fun. And again, Mia Sosa just had an incredible way of facing realities of a Black woman in business, and how she had to navigate that world differently because of systemic racism, and just how she has to hold herself differently as a wedding planner. And I really, really enjoyed this book. The relationships itself was so much fun. One, because it's a little bit of enemies to lovers, not like super strong, but it is got that element to it. And just the setup was so hilarious because the main character, whose name I don't remember at this point, she was engaged to this guy, and he left her at the altar, and she blamed it on his brother because it seemed like his brother had like convinced him, like, oh, do you really want to do this? And he was like, no, and he left. And later, cut like 5 years later or whatever, and now the brother and her have to work on this business proposal together, and it is just so, so good, and I enjoyed it so much. And it is also representation for an interracial romance, which I feel like I don't see a lot of, so I was very excited to read this. And honestly, if you haven't read this yet, please go pick it up. If you just need a smile on your face, read this book. And last, I'm going to recommend another historical, and that is the Do Canoe Too Much by Grace Calloway. I also found this on I think the same list, or maybe a list, of Asian American authors, and this book was so much fun. I think my favorite component of this is that in the acknowledgments, in case you didn't know this about me, I almost always read the author acknowledgments. I just love them. But she talked about how this book is loosely based off of the show House, which I never finished, but I watched a couple seasons of it and really enjoyed what I did watch. And it's based off of the relationship in that show between House and Lisa, I think her name is, the lady in that show. And once I knew that, I could so much, like, I could see it, and I loved it. Because we've got a hero who has a really bad, like, chronic pain issue in his leg due to an injury, and we've got like the, you know, serious but bright and like always trying to work with him despite the fact that he's always grumpy. And I really loved it. It was so sweet. There was also a lot of research put into the historical time period for how medicine was, and I really appreciated that. I thought she did an incredible job. While there wasn't so much any cultural representation in the book, as both the characters, I'm pretty sure, were white, but there was the chronic disability representation I really enjoyed, and then the author herself. So I love this book. If you like historical romance, I think you would really like this one, especially if you like a medical component, which is what I am always searching for. I always want more historical romances with a historical component, because there's not enough and I need more, and if you know any, let me know. So I really, really enjoyed this book. It was steamy, it was fun, it was enemies to lovers, there was medicine, and then I think that representation of the house show in this book was just done so well, and it was so much fun to read, so I definitely recommend that one as well. So those were my 5 books I'm recommending today. Like I said, I have a lot of books on this list to recommend. Like, I already have 5 queued up for the next part of this series, so I am hoping this will be a regular thing I do on my channel. I know I could do better in reading more diverse books. I will be honest, I just read whatever my library has or whatever I pick up. Like, I don't usually put a lot of thought into what I'm picking up, but I know that it is important, and I am trying to read more diversely. I will have some more books in my next video with different types of representation, more women of color, more LGBTQ+. I know I didn't have any of that in this video, but I do have more recommendations coming. I hope you enjoyed. If there's any book that you think I should read in regards to this topic, let me know. I always want to read more romance books. Or if there's any of these that you have read and enjoyed, let me know in the comments below as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you go read some good books. Like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!